No DQ Galaxy, we are live with a recap of AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. Shout out to the early birds, Torvik23, Nick Lavin, Caleb Jacobs, Matthew, Darren G, Mohammed, Ryan, Walter Cruz, of course, Joey Perez. Thank you all for tuning in early for tonight's Dynamite. Now, March 29th, what is significant about that date? It is an anniversary. WrestleMania 3 was on March 29th when Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant and tore every muscle in his back. Iconic moment, though, in wrestling history. Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat was at WrestleMania 3. And also, WrestleMania 14 was on March 29th when Steve Austin won his very first world title, defeating Shawn Michaels. Big day in wrestling history is March 29th, but now we got Dynamite to discuss. Let's break it down. We kicked off the show with a match, Jungle Boy Jack Perry versus Matt Hardy. Ethan Page was on the outside of the ring, and he interfered on numerous occasions. He prevented Jungle Boy from hitting a dive, and Matt Hardy took advantage. Matt Hardy hit a side effect on the apron. When Perry started to make a comeback, Page got on the apron again, and that's when Hook showed up to even the odds. He attacked Page, and during this brawl, Page accidentally hit Matt Hardy. Perry took advantage of this, picked up the 1-2-3 victory. Footage was shown from the backstage area. Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara were watching. AEW continuing to tease the Four Pillars match. And speaking of the Four Pillars, our AEW World Champion MJF showed up. And he did admit that he's had it easier than Jungle Boy. But Jungle Boy should only be mad at himself. Basically, MJF said that after Double or Nothing in 2020, he approached Jungle Boy and said that nice guys finish last. And in order to get ahead, Jungle Boy needed to start thinking of nobody but himself. And MJF brought up how Jungle Boy did the opposite. Jungle Boy had to be the good guy for the fans. MJF said that guys like Luchasaurus and Christian, they were there to hold Jungle Boy down. And Jungle Boy said that, yeah, he wishes he could talk like MJF. He wishes that he could be a narcissistic piece of shit like MJF. By the way, the crowd was doing the what chants at Jungle Boy, just throwing that out there. And Jungle Boy said that he's going to do things his way and beat MJF for the title. They did pop when he used the word shit, so that's an easy pop right there. And that got the fans to stop chanting what at him. And Jungle Boy said that at least when he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't hate the person he sees in the mirror like MJF. And MJF responded by saying that it only took Jungle Boy 4 years to learn how to talk, and they could have been friends. However, Jungle Boy turned out to be a massive disappointment. And then MJF with the real insult, saying that Jungle Boy's girlfriend, Anna Jay, told him that Jungle Boy is weak between the knees. And that's when Jungle Boy had enough. A fight broke out, and MJF managed to escape for now. Good segment here. I enjoyed it, and I'm curious to see what MJF says next when he at some point will confront Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. There'll probably be individual promos coming up. Jungle Boy did pretty well, although he did have to use the word shit to get the crowd to pop for him. Then again, MJF says it all the time to get heat, so there you go. Walter Cruz sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Walter. Says, hello, everyone. Welcome to night 4 of 11 streams in a row. Thanks for the hard work, Aaron, and happy birthday to my son. Turned 7 today. Say yes to no DQ. Happy birthday to your son, Lucky 7. Hope it's a good one for him and a good year for him. Thank you again, Walter. Now, we had Don Callis backstage with Kenny Omega, and Don Callis explained what happened last week. He said that he lost his balance, but he questioned why did Kenny Omega automatically assume that Hangman Adam Page had attacked him when Don Callis lost his balance and fell to the mat. Don Callis said that Kenny Omega needed to focus on his opponent for the evening, Jeff Corn on the Cobb. Didn't say that. He's just Jeff Cobb. And Callis said that he will handle Adam Page. We had some vignette of 2.0 and Jake Hager hanging out with the Acclaimed. I guess they're trying to recruit the Acclaimed into the Jericho Appreciation Society, and a decision will be made on next week's show. We had Dalton Castle and his boys. Yes, that's actually the name of this act. The one thing I like about these guys is they have like a remix of Queen's Radio Gaga, but other than that, like, these are total jabronis. Anyways, they got jumped by the Blackpool Combat Club during their entrance, and Claudio made short work of one of the boys with a sit-down powerbomb. A very short match here, and thankfully this was a complete squash. Like, I kept thinking these guys are going to have, I'm conditioned to think these guys are going to have like a 10-minute match where Dalton Castle and the boys get in some offense and they look good. Thankfully, it was just a squash, though. And I think the Blackpool Combat Club have some new music. It was very generic, whatever it was. I don't know if they've been using it in the past, but whatever it is, not good. We then had Don Callis approaching Adam Page backstage, and he said he was sorry for what happened last week. He offered a handshake, but then the Blackpool Combat Club attacked Adam Page, and then, for good measure, Jon Moxley punched out Don Callis. And if Jon Moxley's not bleeding, somebody else is. Don Callis was busted open from this punch. Now, reportedly, this was a legitimate injury, and Don Callis hit his head when he fell down to the ground and got legitimately busted open. And they quickly cut away, too. So you would think that if this was a planned spot for the bleeding, they would have left the camera on Don Callis for more than 5 seconds before going to commercial. Hopefully he's okay. Then we had, for the IWGP, I think it's the United States title, whatever, or Intercontinental title. Maybe it's the US title. Somebody clarify that with me. There's so many titles, and I could barely keep track of the AEW titles, so I'm not really familiar with who's got the AAA mega title or the IWGP United States title or the Game Changer Wrestling International title. Like, I don't know who's got what these days. So Omega has one of those titles, and it's the IWGP US title. So thank you for that, Matthew. He was defending against Jeff Corn on the Cobb, and Omega got some early momentum, hit a dive to the outside, but his ribs were taped up, and Cobb took advantage of this, and Omega did fight back, hit a couple dragon suplexes. Cobb pretty much no-sold them, clotheslined Omega. Crowd was giving them a standing ovation, and then Cobb hit a delayed superplex, standing moonsault. Omega kicked out, and then Cobb hit Omega's V-trigger on him and went for Omega's own move, the one-winged angel. And if you've watched wrestling long enough, you know that when the heel, I guess Cobb was the heel by default here, when the heel goes for the face's finishing move, it backfires. And sure enough, it did. Omega escaped. Omega hit a V-trigger, one-winged angel, got the 1-2-3 victory over Mr. Corn on the Cob. And then after the match was over, the Blackpool Combat Club showed up. By the way, it was a good match, but not at the level of last week's match with the Viking. You had Moxley, Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta out there. They were ready to take out Kenny Omega. But then Bryan Danielson made his return from the Iron Man match, his first appearance since Revolution, and that devastating loss. Bryan ran down to the ring and acted like he was going to help Omega, that the Blackpool Combat Club were out of line. But spoiler, that was not what happened. Swerve. We had Bryan Danielson lay out Kenny Omega with the running knee, and it was a 4-on-1 beatdown. Bryan put on the submission and yelled at Omega, said that Omega is everything that's wrong with wrestling. On one hand, I like heel Bryan Danielson. I think he always nails it when he's a heel. But on the other hand, I'm also a little bit sad because I mentioned last week, what if CM Punk was the fourth guy to team up with the Blackpool Combat Club? And unfortunately, that's not the case here. It is, in fact, Bryan reuniting with his buddies. They're all heels now. And yeah, they're running roughshod over AEW and the Elite. Surely this is setting up the blood and guts match between the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club. I suspect that will be coming up at Double or Nothing. Maybe they'll do it in Detroit since they did the last blood and guts match there. But I would save it for the pay-per-view and try to maximize your pay-per-view buys. Moving on here, we had a little promo from the Guns. Next week, they are going to face FTR. FTR will be putting their careers on the line. And the Guns said that they used to like FTR, but they hate them now. And the only person they ever respected was their father. And look what they did to him. So just imagine what they're going to do to FTR. And they said next week it will be top guys out. Literally, they'll be out of AEW. We'll see. Next week shaping up to be a big show. It's going to be MJF Day. FTR's career's on the line. They got a pretty loaded show for next week, Long Island, New York. We had Orange Cassidy defending the international title, formerly the All-Atlantic title, against the Butcher. And the Blade was out there. The Blade with a sneak attack. He had a crowbar. The referee got him out of there. And the match finally started. Butcher took advantage of this. He dominated for a while. Orange Cassidy started to make his comeback. He came off the top with the diving DDT. Butcher kicked out of that. Referee got distracted, and that's when Blade showed back up, hit Orange Cassidy with the crowbar. However, Orange Cassidy kicked out. His 120-pound frame was able to absorb that crowbar blow, and he kicked out of this. And then the Best Friends came out to make the assist. Orange Cassidy hit the orange punch, beach break, got the 1-2-3 victory over the Butcher. I mean, no surprise. Butcher's basically an enhancement guy. And once again, little guy gets the victory over the big guy. It is, in fact, AEW. You just have to accept it for what it is. I mean, maybe Maybe Butcher could have been a bigger deal, but they've pretty much made him enhancement talent. So no real surprise here. Despite the interference of the Blade, Cassidy picks up the win and is still your champion. And next up, we had the 9:15 to 9:30 special. You know what it is. It's the women's segment of the evening, right at 9:25. Willow Nightingale versus Ruby Soho with Saraya and Toni Storm on the outside. And it's pretty much what you would expect. Anytime they had the opportunity, you had Saraya interfering with some cheap shot knees to Willow, and she tried again. Willow was able to knock Saraya off the apron, and she hit a DVD on Ruby, but Ruby kicked out. And then Willow climbed up to the top. Toni Storm shook the ropes, and that allowed Ruby to hit the no future kick, but Willow kicked out of that. Willow then made a comeback, hit the pounce, but then Toni Storm once again interfered, saved Ruby from the loss, and then Ruby rolled up Willow, had her feet on the ropes, and Toni grabbed the feet of Ruby for the assist, and Ruby got the 1-2-3 victory. Lots of interference in this one, and you had the attack continue after the match, 3-on-1, and that's when Riho and Sky Blue ran down there to try and make the save, but they got overwhelmed. And finally, Jamie Hayter, the women's world champion, came out there and cleaned house, cleared the ring. Now, I'm wondering, where was Riho and Jamie Hayter and Sky Blue? Where were they when the interference was happening? Like, why did they wait until after Willow lost to come out there and help her? Little late, ladies. Like, come out there sooner and give her the assist when she needs it. Stop the interference as it's happening. Like, the best friends, they're best friends. They come out there when Orange Cassidy needs help. The best friends are there for the save. Like, these are not best friends. I mean, they're not the best friends, but they could be at least good friends and help Willow when Willow's in trouble. Anyways, I should not be questioning the Booker of the Year, Tony Khan. So I'm done. We had our final match of the evening, which was Adam Cole, baby, his first match since Forbidden Door back in June, going up against Daniel Garcia. Match was all right, but nothing special. Pretty standard match. Crowd was really into Adam Cole, though. They were chanting his name. Cole got a good start, but then Garcia hit a pile driver, got the upper hand for a while. Cole made a comeback. It went back and forth here for several minutes. Garcia hit another pile driver. Cole kicked out of it, and then Cole hit the Panama Sunrise. Then he hit the boom knee strike, got the 1-2-3 victory. Britt Baker came out there. There was a big celebration. They had confetti, which is unusual for a non-title match win. But this was Adam Cole's big comeback match, so I guess they had to bust out the confetti and everything. And then Chris Jericho showed up. The crowd was singing Judas, and Jericho helped Garcia out of the ring. And it looks like it's going to be Chris Jericho versus Adam Cole at Double or Nothing. That would be my guess at this point, to keep Adam Cole's momentum going. All in all, good Dynamite. Like, not great or anything, but you had a few big moments on the show. Most notably, the Bryan Danielson heel turn was a significant moment in the storyline. I'm a little bummed, like I said, about CM Punk not being that fourth guy, but heel Bryan Danielson is always fun. And you know that blood and guts match, or even if they do Anarchy in the Arena again, you know that's going to be wild. But then again, also, Matt Jackson is injured, and there's concern about him. So hopefully he'll be back soon, and they'll be able to do this match at Double or Nothing. All in all, I did enjoy Dynamite. I would somewhat recommend it. Next week seems to be like it's going to be a bigger show. So this week was more about building up next week's show. If I was to recommend anything, check out the segment with Bryan Danielson and even Adam Cole's match. Not really a must-see or anything, but it was still a good show. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's Dynamite recap. If you liked it, give it a like. Spread the word about the No DQ YouTube channel. A lot more content coming up. We just did the night 1 video for WrestleMania predictions. Night 2, or part 2, I should say, since it's not really any specific night, as WWE has only confirmed like 2 or 3 matches. Actually, technically only 2. Not even Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes got the night 2 graphic. But we all know it's going to be the match on night 2 closing the show. That's coming up. YouTube.com/AaronRift.NoDQ. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com, and I will see you all next time.